Receiving incoming transmission.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This week's guest is a musical guest. So I'm going to hand you over to the Master of Ceremonies, Paul. Paul, introduce our musical guest this week.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, our next guest, in my opinion, is a musical phenom on the verge of greatness, and that is why I am absolutely honored that he is taking a moment to sit down and talk to us. His video, If Blink-182 Wrote Semi-Charmed Life, has over 1.5 million views on YouTube, and his Punk Goes Country series almost twice that combined. I have to thank Geek Girl for pointing this guy out to me. His ability to mix genres back and forth and appeal to the wide audience of both genres quickly made me a fan. And I hope by the end of this interview that some of you will also become fans of his. Coming to us live from Vacation Room Studios, I present to you Alex Melton. Alex, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you guys for having me. This is it's a big deal. I'm excited to be here.
Well, it's we're excited that you are here as well. So normally we'd ask people about their account in this game that we play, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. But let's pretend that your musical taste and musical skill is your account. How long have you been playing the game?
Oh boy. I started doing YouTube in earnest in about 2012, right after I graduated college. But I've been playing music my whole life, basically. Got into recording in high school, went to music school and in college, got a degree in music, and started after college, basically. That was the first time I said, what if this pop song was like a pop punk song? And then I basically kind of just went from there and started coming up with different ideas. And over the past, was it 9 years or so of the channel I'm on now, it's grown into, taking pop songs to pop punk and then turning pop punk songs into country songs and everything in between. So it's kind of been a long journey just to get to where I am with the different series and everything. So, roughly 10 years or so.
I grew up listening to, I guess, what you'd call oldies and Beach Boys and things like that. What were your musical influences? You say you've been playing music for a while. What was your musical influences that got you into playing music itself?
Well, when I was a kid, I was really into boy bands like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. they didn't really play music like instruments. I used to say they were more focused on the vocals. And I got one of those, now that's what I call music CDs, because of there was like an NSYNC song on there. And then I discovered Blink-182 and Sum 41, and that was kind of my gateway into the pop punk side of things, where you have more, they're singing, but they're also playing guitars, and that made me want to pick up a guitar. So I started with guitar, really.
That must have been an old Now album, if it had Blink 182 and Sum 41 on it, because Blink 182 and Sum 41 were like late 90s bands. That must have been an old Now album, that.
I believe it was volume 8.
Now 8. Oh, God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now that's what I call music 8. Yes.
I think they're up to 100 now. It's like Kids Bop.
Oh no. Wow, that kind of dates things, doesn't it? Wow.
So so I distinctly didn't hear Take That when you mentioned boy bands there. What got something against Take That?
Uh-oh. I don't know if I've ever heard of Take That.
You've never heard of Take That?
He's British. Don't worry about him.
No. Take That were global. They were, they were boy bands before, they were better than New Kids on the Block and NSYNC and Boys to Men and all of that lot.
Well, I've got some digging to do after the
Yeah,
after
you've
the
got
podcast.
some digging to do, yeah.
Oh, man. Take that. All right.
Take That. Oh, God, yeah.
Even Cugrack in chat says that he's never heard of Take That.
Uh-oh.
Come on. Take that. Gary Barlow, Robbie Williams. I mean, come on.
Well, Robbie Williams. I mean, we know Robbie Williams from Millennium.
Yeah, well, Robbie Williams was in Take That before, he departed the band. He started his career in Take That, and as all boy bands do, somebody always thinks they're better than the band and they go solo and they crash and burn, and Robbie Williams left, crashed and burned, got drunk, got fat, stopped smoking weed, stopped drinking, got himself in shape and came back and, did really, really well as a solo artist.
Wow.
So, did you have your typical high school band, Alex?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I had a couple guys. We would get together in my bedroom and we would play Green Day songs. I had a little electronic drum set. I at some point I switched from guitar to drums because everybody else was playing guitar, and so yeah, had to fill out the band somehow. And we would play the talent shows at high school, gatherings, and that kind of continued on into college. We would start playing local shows around the area and move around South Carolina, different venues and stuff. But it was one of those fun things where I learned a lot, wrote some songs, started trying to get into how to record oneself. That's kind of where I started cutting my teeth on all that. So yeah.
So let's talk about that early time or earlier. When did you exactly break out to be just Alex Melton? I'm looking at your Spotify thing and I'm seeing 2019 is your earliest published work.
Yeah, I switched distributors in 2019, so I kind of wiped everything off of Spotify and streaming before that and kind of re-uploaded everything. But I've been releasing stuff on my own since around the time I finished college. That's when I started doing the Alex Melton thing. That's when all your friends, they start to kind of branch off, and maybe the bands you started, they kind of fizzle out. Everybody's doing their own thing. They're getting day jobs and going off and getting girlfriends and apartments and all this. So yeah, I kind of had to fall back on the only reliable bandmate I had left, which was other versions of myself. So that's how we did that.
You had shown a video of, you said you got an electronic drum kit and all that. You were showing yourself doing the drum solo in Semi-Charmed Life. I loved that Patreon video of yours. And so what is that the hardest? I have to believe it's the hardest thing to do is consistently have the beat on basically touchpads.
Yeah, that's kind of a new thing for me, a new workflow thing. I'm here in my kind of second bedroom in my house, and that's kind of what I've turned into the home studio. For a long time, I had a full drum kit set up behind me, fully mic'd up, and I would play live drums on all the songs. But recently, I've discovered some like kind of game changing plugins where the virtual instruments and especially virtual drum instruments have come so far in the last several years to where now it's like the samples almost do a better job sometimes, especially with this certain style of really highly produced pop punk, right? Like the major label stuff that was coming out. Everything is super tight to the grid and really sample based already. Even when you're recording live drums, you're going to mix in some samples just to make it all super separated and nice sounding. So the keyboard drum style is definitely something you have to develop if you're any kind of producer. But yeah, it's interesting trying to play actual drum parts, like stuff that would be played by a real drummer on the pads, because you instead of using 4 limbs, you only have the 2 back and forth here. So sometimes it's a thing where you record the kick and the snare, and then you go back and do all the cymbal work. Sometimes you kind of get it close, and then you realize a real human drummer wouldn't be able to do that specifically,
right?
physically. So then you can go in and edit the MIDI notes around and say, okay, well, in order for someone to play this, they'd have to hit it here and then here. So it's probably the most tedious part for sure of production of what I do, is sitting there and coming up with the drum parts, writing the drum parts, tracking it, and then going back and editing those individual MIDI notes. It can get a little tedious for sure.
JJ Manners asked if he's covered Misery Business yet. We'll get to that. I will answer that in just a moment. I've noticed, though, I did notice this, your 2019 EP In the Sun, lots of that pop punk influence. But just recently in 2020, you released the album Quality Content, the EP Quality Content, and that's more top 40 in my opinion.
Yeah, I was curious as to what you would call that, what genre you would classify that as.
Adult contemporary, to be honest.
That's fair. Yeah, I could see that. That EP was written in 2016 to 2017. And it was a time where you have your thing, right? As a creator, you have your niche. And sometimes you get tired of that, and you want to kind of try to break out a little bit and try to experiment with something new. That was that album for me, that EP. I wanted to keep a lot of the, I guess the where I grew up recording a certain style of music. I wanted to take that and expand upon it. And what does it look like to record a different kind of music, to write and arrange a different style of music? How can I apply what I already know? Excuse me. And kind of broaden my horizons a little. And, I really thought I had something that I could shop around, to labels or whatever. There was this like submission thing where you would send in your music to these critics, and you would pay, I don't know what it's called, but you would pay a critic to listen to your song basically. And I submitted. It was like they gave me like 5 free credits when I signed up for the website. And so I sent it to like 5 different critics, and all of them either like ignored it or didn't like it. And this one guy was like, this sounds like everything else on the radio right now. I'm not interested. And so that was kind of the end of that chapter for me. Like, I was like, okay, well, maybe people don't like this as much as I thought. And it was a really cool thing. I'm glad I did it. I'm really proud of those songs. But
I'm proud of Getaway. Getaway was my favorite from Quality Content.
Thank you. Yeah, that one was they were kind of written pretty much in the order that they are on the EP. So that was kind of the last one I finished up. But yeah, I think there's something there, and maybe even one day I could turn those into maybe more pop punk things. I don't know. But I kind of buried it. I switched from TuneCore to DistroKid. The album got pushed off of streaming, and I kind of didn't come back to it. But then recently I was like, you know what, this should be available somehow for people. So I think that's when I put it on Bandcamp or something like that.
So I mean, you may even revisit these, and this is the segue, by the way, just in case anybody was wondering. You may even revisit these and give them kind of a country feel, possibly.
Nothing's off the table, it seems like.
So recently you just released the song that you titled Missouri Business instead of Misery Business. This was about a month ago.
That sounds right, yeah.
And you took Misery Business by Paramore and totally countrified it, and I love it. I love the sound of this. But you've also taken country songs like Taylor Swift and made it pop punk. I mean, Shake It, hilarious.
Oh yeah, that one's good.
So what? I love covers. I love the whole pop goes insert this. I've got the got you covered. Any of those, but yours hit home because you do it in reverse as well. I started in radio on on a news talk station, worked for the adult contemporary station, the pop station. But then they finally let me get my hands on the rock station, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Then when I moved to Austin, rock's not too big down there. You got more country listeners than that, so I worked for the top, the hit country stations, and you could take what you put out there, and if they've never listened to pop, they would believe they were country songs. I'll tell you that right now.
Sure, yeah, I get that. I get that.
So what we're gonna do here, Neil, do you have it ready?
Yeah, it's been ready. I've been waiting for you.
Okay, so what we're gonna do here, we're gonna show an example of this, of how talented you are at turning a pop punk song into a country song by playing for them I Write Sins Not Tractors. You'll get the title in just a moment. Go ahead, Neil.
I'm pacing the pews in a church corridor, and I can't help but to hear, no, I can't help but to hear an exchanging of words. What a beautiful wedding, what a beautiful wedding, says a bridesmaid to a waiter. What a shame, poor groom's bride is a whore. I'll chime in with a haven't you people ever heard of closing the goddamn door? No, it's much better to face these kind of things with another Miller Lite up on the porch. Yeah, haven't you people ever heard of closing the daggone door? No, it's much better to face these kind of things with a sense of. Oh, well, in fact, if you look at it this way, technically our marriage is saved. Well, this calls for a toast, so pour the champagne, pour the champagne. In fact, I mean, look at it this way, I mean, technically our marriage is saved. This calls for a toast, so pour the champagne. Ooh. Pour the champagne. Chime in with a haven't you people ever heard of closing the goddamn door? No, it's much better to face these kind of things with another Miller Lite up on the porch. Yeah, haven't you people ever heard of closing the daggone door? No, it's much better to face these kind of things with a sense of poison rationality. Chime in, haven't you people ever heard of closing that goddamn door? It's much better to face these kind of things with a sense of, yeah, haven't you people ever heard of closing that goddamn door? No, it's much better to face these kind of things with a sense of.
There we go, ladies and gents. Big round of applause.
So
Clap, you cretins. Clap. Clap in chat.
What possessed you to take pop punk and turn it into country? Country doesn't grab everybody. Where did you become country, if you will? I mean, I understand South Carolina.
Yeah, you can't really avoid it down here, to be honest with you. It kind of creeps into your everyday life, whether you want it to or not. And, growing up, we would have, getting ready for school, there would just be CMT playing. They just had country music videos on rotation. It became a part of my intellectual brain matter, but with that song specifically, it was one of those things where you're just kind of sitting around in the studio with an acoustic guitar and, melody, especially like pop punk melody, country pop, all of that like stuff, that it's very interchangeable in a way. There's only so many notes in the scale. And so you start messing around with these kind of almost cliche pop country chord progressions, and you realize there's a lot of different melodies that can fit over this chord progression. And that one was just, it was just ridiculous enough for me to be like, maybe I should make this into a full thing. So I went for it.
I think it is truly the Pachelbel canon in D. I think that does follow the follow canon Pachelbel there. Which I'm sure, being a musical artist, you've seen the Pachelbel stand-up skit.
I think I'm familiar with what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you do have a request, by the way, to now countrify a Metallica song.
Okay. It gets a little bit hairy when you get outside of the when you get into minor keys and stuff. I got to figure that part out. So, it's potential for a future video for sure.
There you go. And that, possibly that, this is not a guarantee. And Hellenix says, Hellenix wants to ask, and I'm going to let you answer this. Would Slipknot's Duality work as a country song?
It's debatable, but I tried. That's for sure. There is on my playlist, the Pop Goes Country, or whatever I called it, Punk Goes Country playlist on my channel. I actually did that very song, and it's funny because that's one of those Slipknot songs that it has this really nice, catchy chorus to it, and it actually ended up working pretty well, in my opinion. Some people may disagree, but I particularly enjoy that one.
Yeah, that is a. I think it's a Jason. It has the similar riff as a Jason Cole song.
I did lift the chord progression from one of those. Like, it was that weird phenomenon that started happening a few years ago where hip hop and rap started converging more than they normally do.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very much a parody of that. But also, it is a parody. It's a meme, but I like to think of it as a high quality meme. There's some effort and thought behind it. It's not just, it's not just a little silly thing. Although it is silly, I will give you that.
It's silly, but it works and it's great.
Thank you.
Listen to some Take That. Trust me, that there are some Take That songs that you could so easily countrify.
I'm putting it in my phone now. Take That.
you could easily make Want You Back into a country song.
Oh, Want You Back? Is that Want You Back for Good?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, whatever I did, I didn't mean it. I just want you back for good. Okay.
And you could do one of their first ones. It only takes a minute, girl. You could so do that one. You could make that country. You could make
I'll check it out.
Okay, so I guess Alex, we do know Take That.
Very nice.
I mean, it's. Where are you going from here? What's next in the world of Alex Melton?
A lot of, continuing what I've started here. There's so many songs, so many things that are ripe for genre switch that I just haven't gotten to yet, So I want to keep going with the country stuff. I have some plans to do some more Blink-182 style songs. I'm in the works talking with some kind of bigger players to maybe do some artist collaborations on both sides of pop punk and maybe some country stuff with some actual artists that I'm covering. Maybe I can get them in on it. So we're trying to work out some of the details there, but yeah, just basically continuing the trend, taking more of the songs that people love and making them into cursed objects and audios.
I wonder, could you do toss a coin to your Witcher as country?
And anything's possible, really. I will not say no to anything.
That's been regenred like so many different ways.
Oh yeah.
So you did Machine Gun Kelly's I Think I'm Okay in 11 different versions of pop punk. And I just have to give you props that you put on shirts to look like each and every single singer or artist that you were portraying. And I got to give you props for that.
I appreciate it. I was in the studio here and we were filming, and my girlfriend was behind the camera, and she had a lot of input on wardrobe choices for each scene that we did. So a lot of the props has to go to her. I would say, what about this shirt? And she's that doesn't really capture the spirit of that particular band. And I'd be like, okay, let's find a different shirt. And we would finally settle on something. And it was definitely a process, that's for sure. But I think it worked out.
Was it your girlfriend on the country version of I Miss You?
Yeah, she did harmonies on that, Maddie.
Yeah, major props on that.
Yeah.
So, we're running over on time, and I know I promised I'd get you out by 10 after the hour. Let's get you. Let's tell people how to find you. So, first off, Alex Melton, AlexMelton on Spotify, easy to find you there. But you also have your YouTube. Why don't you go ahead and plug that, and also your Patreon?
So the YouTube is the URL is youtube.com/vacation room studio. That was just kind of this. I was starting a studio with this channel, and it was always supposed to be here's some examples of my work so I can hire bands to record. It didn't quite work out that way, but that's still the URL. And the Patreon is patreon.com/Alex Melton. I do a lot of behind the scenes podcasts, breaking down the Pro Tools sessions of each of my songs. I give the stems out as well if you want to download the stems and listen to like specific guitar parts or how vocal harmonies stack on each other. A lot of production stuff, and there's a Discord involved in that. We hang out there and we talk about gear and other things.
Yeah, you're currently 138,000 subscribers. That's amazing. And I can tell you're only going to grow from here. You are an amazing artist, and we are very grateful for the fact that you took some time to sit down with a lowly little Star Wars podcast.
It might be a little off, but I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
So we'll ask the Star Wars question. Favorite character?
Oh man. Okay. As someone who has seen the original trilogy, I did see the new trilogy in theaters. I've played the Lego games. I played some Knights of the Old Republic back in the day.
And
that's
you can include KOTOR if you want.
Oh man, I don't remember any names though. I'm a bad nerd when it comes to this kind of thing. I think C-3PO just because of the one-liners and the quips. But actually, no. You know what? I changed it to a different droid.
That one line.
The droid. Hey. I think I have to go with the guy from Rogue One. What was the
K2SO?
That's the guy. That's my dude.
Congratulations, you're being rescued.
Yes, absolutely.
Alex, any last things before we pass? Before we throw it to a break and come back with the bridge?
I think I'm good. Thanks for having me. This was really fun to do. Yeah, I'll be listening in future episodes.
And I'll continue to support you as much as I can. And thank you for what you do. Neil, anything else?
No, just throw a couple of duets in there, maybe. Spread the love.
I'll take that advice. I'll take that advice.
I do love a good duet.
Absolutely.
Especially if the chick's hot.
Noted.
Well, go listen to I Miss You, but the cover, his girlfriend does an excellent duet. Guys, coming up after this break, we're gonna get to the bridge and Patreon's choice. I'm hearing that there's something going on with this broadcast of Helly and the Noob. Guys, stick around, find out what's going on here, right here on the Escape Podcast.